Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal, second show of the day, joined by James Benge of CBS Sports, which can only mean one thing. It is Inside Arsenal Extra Time. James, how you doing? I've just noticed, as I'm introducing you, that we both appear to have relatively new haircuts on screen.
I got mine done sort of for this show.
So did
sort
I.
of because I'm going
if you
away
watch this morning's show, you'll see I have definitely had a haircut. What hair
Is
I
that
have
why you
remaining
delayed me?
has been
Is that
cut.
why you delayed me by 15 minutes? Because
That
you were
is
coming
not
back from the barbers?
That is not why I delayed you by 15 minutes, but no, I have had a fresh trim, as the youngsters call it. So what hair I have left has been cut.
We're looking on point for when Shakhtar come to town.
Absolutely looking on point. Hey, been all good? Good week?
Incredibly busy. Have
Yeah.
you ever known an October international break quite like this?
In what way? You're talking to someone who now works for himself, remember?
True.
Not
Every day's busy for you.
Not back in the day of Football London or Goal and doing 4 or 5 stories a day. So it's a little bit different for me now. But so I take it you have had a busy international break so far.
Well, I mean, 4 or 5 stories. Have you seen what they're now doing?
I have
London,
seen.
That is for the Media Matters show. We should definitely do at some stage.
Yes.
We've had
in reach.
We could go off. We could go off. Like, huge credit to the guys that cope doing that, because as I said on Twitter, they take every idea you have every week, and you come out of that job feeling like a sponge that's been completely crushed down.
Absolutely.
The last bit of a bar of soap. APT, all that, Man City, that was been absolutely insane.
Sure, we'll chat about that in the show.
Jurgen Klopp landing a new job that sadly doesn't look like being the England job. Alisson out for the Arsenal game.
Yes, I saw that. Kelleher, to be fair, has done very, very well in goal since whenever Alisson gets injured, which seems to be a fair amount nowadays.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Which is probably why they've just spent 30 million on what's his name again? Mamardashvili from Valencia, isn't it? Who's coming in the summer, which might make that deal look more sensible now.
Yeah. So I mean, I always think it's a good sign in an international break if you're the relatively quiet club. I know we've had sort of talk about injuries, but even then they're sort of injuries rather than the sort of banjaxing that Arsenal had in September. So
are you hinting that Arsenal may be playing a few games with their injuries during the international break?
I mean, I have read your reporting on this, and I am certainly hopeful that Kai Havertz and Thomas Partey will not have extended absences from the first team. Is that an okay way to? Am I not going to get in trouble with a DFB if I rephrase it like that?
I get the impression that Thomas Partey and Kai Havertz might well be in the starting lineup when Arsenal take on Bournemouth after the international break.
Miraculous recovery.
I'm not saying they will for certain, but I get the impression it's probably more likely than not likely. If you see what I mean. I was going to say if I was a betting man, and I am kind of a betting man. How's Crystal Palace? Should we get Crystal Palace watch out the way early on this? What, we're 3 minutes in? How's Crystal Palace watch going? Have they won a game yet?
They are drawing at an impressive rate. There are 93 points still to play for. That's all I'm saying.
You're not giving up hope of a late dash for a top 4 spot for Crystal Palace then?
Oh, I've abandoned hope of that. I'm really just hoping that they can finish above Fulham, which I actually I'm thinking they won't, because that would really be double humiliation for me.
Well, Fulham are sitting pretty in 8th at the moment. Crystal Palace are sitting not so pretty in 18th, still without a win so far this season with just 3 points. So yeah,
I know that XG and all that kind of can turn you off a little bit, but I was looking at Understat's expected points method, which basically is sort of the XG for every game and how many points it should lead to.
You've genuinely just given me a headache with those words that just came out of your mouth. Honestly,
Fulham are second in the Premier League for expected points. Fulham, who I said were going to get relegated. I mean, look, they haven't got enough for safety yet.
If Traore had scored all of his chances so far this season, they'd be sitting second at the table.
I know. Oh man, this is a tough season for me. I could do with Arsenal winning the league.
Yeah, I think we could all do with Arsenal winning league 100%. So, and it was a decent win at the weekend. It was obviously a little bit. It was kind of like the week before, really. gave themselves a bit of an uphill task, but they managed to dig themselves out of the hole and get the 3 points that they definitely deserved on the day. It was a decent enough performance in the end. Good comeback, good spirit. Kai Havertz sort of dragging the team back into the game, and then Bukayo Saka doing what Bukayo Saka does to help win it for Arsenal. So yeah, it was all in all, it was a decent way to go into the international break for Arsenal. 17 points. You know, I saw a comparison table of this season and last season at this stage after 7 games. Arsenal were exactly the same as they were last season. Same points, same goal difference, everything exactly the same as they were this point last season after 7 games.
And they'd played City, but they don't think they played many of the rest of the top 6. They definitely played City because it were just out of the anniversary.
Played United, didn't they? The 2 late goals against United.
So like, as I said, they hadn't played any.
Yeah, that's true. They played the relegation candidates. True. So where are we? Last season, first 7 games: Forest, Palace, Fulham, United, Everton, Spurs, Bournemouth. No, so the City game came next. It came after the international break.
Oh,
so
right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So
because the season started earlier.
Yeah. So so Bournemouth was the 7th game, the 4-0 when Kai Havertz scored his penalty.
Right. I mean, I suppose what you would also say is, so that's one more real high grade tough game, and the 3 big games that Arsenal played last season were at home. 3 of the sort of 4 or 5 hardest away games done. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really impressive 17 points.
Yeah.
I think that's so well placed.
No, I agree. I think City are 1 point worse off than they were last season with the exact same goal difference as well. So it's really both of them literally like that so far. So yeah, it's been interesting. Right, we're going to talk about some Arsenal stuff because we haven't really spoken about that yet too much. We're going to talk first of all William Saliba, Real Madrid stories doing the rounds today. So I thought we'd start off with a discussion about that. I've got a feeling it's probably not the last time we're going to talk about that between now and next summer and the summer beyond and the summer beyond that, hopefully, if he stays for that long. It's just an inevitable point of discussion that's going to happen. We're going to go through our sort of player ratings for the season so far. Look at who's been maybe our star performers in the opening 7 games in the Premier League. Obviously some cup games as well. And then we've got plenty of questions and comments as well in the second half of the show. Right. William Saliba to Real Madrid. So it's been reported today over in France, the 10 Sport, I think, reporting that Real Madrid have made Saliba their number 1 target, their top priority for the summer. The player's entourage has already been contacted, with Madrid willing to pay, quote, whatever price to convince Arsenal to sell. So whatever price, okay, 500 million, chuck in Vinny as well, and we'll be maybe we'll start talking.
I mean, do you think they should, Arsenal would you take less than the world transfer record? Well, let's call it 200 million. Would you take less?
What is the world record?
It's like 198, isn't it, for Neymar?
Would I take less than that? I mean, he's a centre back, obviously, and it would just be centre backs just don't go for as much as forwards, do they? So, would I take it? No, I don't think. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of money, isn't it? But I just don't want to sell William Saliba. I know he is going to go. That's going to happen at some point. He's not going to be an Arsenal career player, is he? He's not going to do a Tony Adams. He's not going to retire at Arsenal.
Probably.
You can't imagine. He's not come through the club. He's not got that emotional tie. I'm sure, like most top players, he will want to experience something new at some point in his career, and the lure around Madrid would be very, very strong. So I'm not stupid enough to think that William Saliba is going to stay at Arsenal forever. But I just think this is too early for William Saliba to leave. I want to see William Saliba definitely sign another contract with Arsenal, and then maybe after that next contract, or towards the end of that next contract, that's when he can look around when he gets to sort of 25, 26, that sort of age. He's still so young still. He's still getting better. He's in a brilliant team. So no, I wouldn't want to envisage Arsenal selling. Obviously, money talks at the end of the day, and directors are very different to me sitting here as a fan, pretty much saying I don't want William Saliba to go. If someone offers Arsenal 150, 200 million pounds, then maybe it's something they would consider, but I hope not. It's a long-winded way of answering your question. What about you?
I mean, I actually wouldn't even. I would start having the conversation with Madrid at 200 million. I know what you mean about, forwards are the ones that win games, but Saliba's the best centre back in the world already.
Yeah, I agree.
He's 23. You're getting him for over a decade. And Madrid are at the moment looking quite well set financially. So if I were Edu, that's where I would sort of, if they picked up the phone and only then if Saliba said, I'd like you to have serious dialogue with them.
Yeah,
that's where I'd start it. I mean, I do agree with you. It feels like what Arsenal are looking at here is maybe trying to manage this situation in the same way like Arsene Wenger brilliantly managed Patrick Vieira, where it was just every single year that just somehow managed to cling on. And then by the time he went, he just hit the, well, he hadn't just, but he'd been on that crest of the wave long enough that it was slightly downhill from there. I don't actually remember how good he was at Juventus. All I remember is Cesc Fabregas running rings around him.
he was decent at Juventus, but didn't they?
Good,
the scandal happened not soon after he went there, did it? And so he left. It didn't stay for too long, but I think he won a title there, didn't he? With either one or two titles with them before he went to Inter. Yeah,
and was still great, but it wasn't quite the force he was, and I think that's like you say, that's how you have to view it. Give him whenever he wants a pay rise, give it to him. Really,
yeah. Well, he's 2027 his contract. So come the end of this season, when Madrid supposedly are going to come really knocking, he's going to have 2 years left. So you're kind of in that time frame there where it starts to get a little bit nervy, where it's like if he doesn't sign that summer and stays, then you're down to just 1 year left on his contract the following year, and then it gets very nervy. And
look what's happening with Trent and with Alphonso Davies.
Exactly.
They can't get these guys to sign.
No.
So, you do have to get this nailed down before this summer. And maybe, like you say, maybe then if he says, I'd like to go to Real Madrid, maybe you have to have a really hard talk. I think, having said that, I'm really hopeful that Arsenal can keep growing. And I think if they do, they've got a chance. It's just so hard because he's going to be Real Madrid's first choice.
I think that's really, really interesting what you said, though. What you just said there. I think it's up to what Arsenal do on the pitch, isn't it? I think when you've got these players who have been sort of 21, 22, it's been a little bit easier when you're sort of growing together. But once they get to 23, 24, the mid-20s, they look around, they see their mates winning everything. Saliba looks around the France dressing room when he goes on international duty. He looks at what some of his teammates are winning at Madrid. And he'll start to want that sort of thing. But if he knows he can win the big trophies at Arsenal, it's going to be an awful lot easier, I think, to convince him to sign a new deal and stuff. So I think a lot of that depends. A lot of maybe this story, as it rumbles on, depends on what Arsenal can do in terms of trophies and convincing these top talents they don't need to look elsewhere to win the big deal.
One final thought. Don't let this guy join up with the French national squad ever. I don't want Mbappe, Tchouaméni, Camavinga whispering in his ears. You go, no, he's injured. He's always injured.
Well, did you see Rudiger's comments the other day? Which made me laugh.
Oh,
then this story comes out. It's like it's already felt. Well, as soon as I saw Rudiger, the sort of red flags went up in my mind, thinking, "Oh, it's a classic." Normally, you associate it with Barcelona when they're after one of your players, and we saw it all the time. The players start talking about them, and as soon as Rudiger came out and said, "Oh, what centre back would you sign?" Oh, Saliba. I was like, "Oh yeah, what's this in preparation for? What dirty tricks is this?" So yeah, unfortunately, it's something we're just going to have to deal with. I mean, it is just been the most inevitable story. It's just going to happen that Saliba and Real Madrid is going to be something we're going to have to hear about an awful lot, I would suggest, over the next, hopefully, few years. But yeah, we'll see how that one rumbles on. Anything you want to add on that before we move on?
No, I mean, I'll just say to fans that maybe a bit younger, this is just how life used to be when Arsenal were winning trophies.
Those Vieira summers. Like literally felt like 3-4 summers in a row with the Real Madrid stuff. I remember it was right in the height of my clubbing days. I'd rock out of like Fabric or Camden Palace, Turnmills, all those places, and I'd go get the newspaper off for the way home, and I'd open the back page, and I would be all my mates, all our clubbing mates, loads of them Spurs fans, Chelsea fans, everything, and I'd look at the back page, and it would be Vieira's off to Madrid. And I just have to sit there with all the Spurs fans, like taking the mick out me the whole way home. And it was just every summer, it felt like we had to endure that time and time and time again. But like you said, he stayed. Arsenal did enough to convince him to stay. Even at one point, it looked like he was definitely going, like he'd properly thrown his toys out of the pram and was trying to engineer a move away. But Arsenal stood firm and kept him, and he ended up signing a new contract. So we'll see what happens with Saliba. I certainly don't think Saliba's going to try and engineer any move. I don't get that impression at all. He seems very happy.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, exactly. And if Arsenal can go on and hopefully do what we all hope they might be able to do this season in terms of trophies, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier. But I'd definitely be starting those contract talks like now if they haven't already started behind the scenes already.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to an extent, it's tough. You always have to sort of have a maximum in mind, and you have to understand that what Saliba gets, Saka will want, Rice will want, Havertz will want. But I mean, the Cronkies will know this from sort of their NBA, NFL teams. When you get a contender, you just got to open the checkbook for a while, and hopefully not for a long time. But when this team breaks up, you can go, you can save your money then. But now is the time to let that wage bill go as high as you can get away with letting it go.
Yeah. Right, let's go through some player ratings now for the season, shall we? It's been look, as I was having my hair cut earlier, the barber knows full well what I do, knows I'm a big Arsenal fan as well. So we always talk about Arsenal. And he said, like, how do you think the season's gone? And I was like, I just think it's been a really, really solid start. Not overly spectacular by any means, but I think it's been a really solid start, especially with the fixtures Arsenal had to deal with, the away trips they've had to deal with, the injuries they've had to deal with. So I think they're sitting to be 1 point off the top of the table right now. I would honestly have grabbed your hand off if someone had offered that at the start of the season, especially if they were to say you'd be without all these players for such a long amount of time. So I think it's been a solid start. I think there's definitely players that need to improve. I think there's definitely players who we're beginning to see the best of as well. So we're not going to. There's no point even. Is Neto even played? He's not even played a minute yet. Neto, has he?
10 out of 10. Done nothing wrong.
Absolutely done nothing wrong. True, no mistakes for him. So David Raya, who has just been named Arsenal's Player of the Month for September.
10 out of 10, done nothing wrong.
How do you mark? I mean, I've never given David Raya 10 out of 10 performance-wise so far this season, so I can't let in for a match. So I can't then give him 10 out of 10 overall for all the games so far. But he's definitely, he's got to be a 9, I would say. I think if it wasn't for David Raya, Arsenal would not be sitting anywhere near as pretty as they are right now. They could easily have surrendered, 6 points, something like that, had it not been for David Raya. You think of the saves he made in some of those games?
I'm going to say 10, but mostly because there's an outfield player I want to give a 10 to.
I can't believe you've started with a 10.
Hey, it's going down from here. There's a couple of players here I might go as low as a 5 or maybe a 6. I think he's been absolutely vital to, like you say, Arsenal picking up points that might not otherwise have come. He has made a lot of saves. I haven't kind of got the latest data in front of me, but he's somewhere around 30-40% of the saves he made last season. And, he has been heroic in huge games. And I know what you mean about that. We're always sort of conditioned that 10 is that sacral thing that you should be giving out for a hat trick in a World Cup final. But I want to give him a 10. I don't see anywhere where he could have done better, and he has been nothing but consistently excellent. So,
yeah. I'm not going to give him a 10, but I'll give him a 9 just because of everything you just said. I agree. He's not. I can't really think of him putting a foot wrong so far this season. He has absolutely saved Arsenal. They probably lose that game at Aston Villa if he doesn't make that save from Watkins. Yeah, the game against
Forest, he made an incredible save.
What was the Forest game?
Or Wolves? Was it Wolves? Sorry, on the opening day.
Wolves. He made that great save from Strand Larsen, didn't he? That header, it was fantastic. He made another. What was the other reactions to? Oh, no, that was in Champions League as well. Yeah, Arsenal probably lose in Champions League at Atalanta if it's not for him. So, yeah, he's just made so many impressive stops. The Man City away game was, he was brilliant in that game as well. His ability coming for crosses, his passing. Yeah, no, I'm giving him a 9. So you give him a 10, I'm giving him a 9. Saliba, I'm going to give. I don't think we've seen the best of Saliba yet this season. He's not been bad by any means, but I don't think we've quite seen Saliba at the heights we saw at times last season. I'm probably going to give him. A 7 so far. Pushing an 8.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, I'd stick with 7. I think.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of thinking it's between a 7 and an 8. I might
give him an 8. Just come and look at the next person on the list, who's Ben White, who I'd probably give a 7 to, and I think Saliba should probably be higher. Saliba should probably be higher than Ben White.
I'm going to give. Should we go to Ben White? Because I would say 6, and it's sort of. I think he's just been he just played a few games injured.
Yeah.
So his performance hasn't been great, and you kind of have to mark on performance. But you benefit of the doubt for some excellent, character.
Yeah.
The fact he played that game against City injured when he shouldn't have been in the squad tells you everything about Ben White.
Yeah. Maybe 6. Maybe I might agree with you there with Ben. Definitely, I think he has clearly been playing injured, and we're seeing that now. The fact he's not in the team. Yeah, you kind of the performances I think he served up so far this season were quite similar to what he served up pre-Dubai in that little run up to Dubai last season, and then he had his break, had his rest, came back and was just unbelievable through to the end of the season. I wonder if that's again just the fact he's been able to. Hopefully, he'll come back after this little rest, and be on it. Gabriel, see, this is what I've bumped Saliba up to an 8, but I think Gabriel's been better than Saliba this season. Yeah. But I don't want to I'm not sure I'd give Gabriel a 9, so I'm kind of stuck. Maybe I'd give Gabriel a 9. Yeah, maybe I would just give Gabriel a 9, to be honest, actually.
I think he's really
match winner at Spurs as well.
Yeah, and I think he's really developing on the ball and as a player that can sort of defend very, very high up the pitch. I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but it feels like he's much more involved kind of at the same level as Partey, and we're almost now defending with sort of doing sort of a 1-3, however many are left, 1-3-6, however you want to call it, in attack. They've got just able to commit that many forward, and Gabriel's so strong. Just an absolute ox in the jungle.
Yeah. I agree. No, I'm giving him a 9 as well. You're in Timber. I'll give an 8 just because he's not played loads. But when he has played, he's been very. I mean, I love Yuri Timber. From what I've seen of him so far this season, I just can't wait to see how much he improves going on this season, because he's still got so much to give. I think as he gets 100% fit and really into his flow. But I think he's been, in the minutes he's been on the pitch, I think he's been really, really good. But I'll give him an 8.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I know I've posted about it, so you can all read it online. I spoke to Bukayo Saka last week on Thursday. That was great. We could maybe talk about that more another time, because there is more to come from that. You could just see him light up when he spoke about Yuri and Timber, and especially the game against PSG when he was at right back. I agree with you, 8, just because he hasn't quite had the minutes yet. But I'm so excited. You guys know, if you watched last week, this guy's my guy now. I'm ride or die with Yuri and Timber. I think he's a star.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to give Kivior, Zinchenko, or Tomiyasu marks. So we'll move on to Calafiori. This is a hard one as well, Tomat. What do you give Calafiori? I think I love what I'm seeing from Calafiori, but there's definitely stuff he needs to improve on and work on, and I'm sure he will. I cannot wait.
Wild.
He's very wild, but I can't. He's just come in. Give Arteta and the coaching staff a year working on him, and I just think how high can his ceiling be? I just think he's a remarkable player, and he's got remarkable attributes. And I'm really, really excited to see what the coaching staff do with him. I can't give him as high as I'd probably give him. If I've given Timber an 8, can I give Calafiori an 8? I don't know. No, I'm giving him an 8. He scored that goal at Etihad, which was unbelievable. So he's getting an extra point for me. I'm giving him an 8. I'm rounding him up to an 8. He's probably more of a 7.5, but I'm rounding him up to an 8.
If I give him a 7, it's like he's a 7.5, and I'd have him there because the defense needs some work. But I'm pretty confident it'll click within weeks or months, certainly, rather than seasons.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun at the weekend again, Calafiori. He got done a couple of times.
Brilliant.
He got done a couple of times by what's his name, Diblin, who does look a player, by the way. That winger, he really does. He's got something about him. And so he did get caught out a few times, but he's just a lot of fun to watch. The way you think someone's gone past him, he stretches his leg out, he wins a tackle, and he's off. And then suddenly he's over on the right hand side. He's loads of fun. I'm very much enjoying him so far this season. Right, moving on to midfield. This will be quite interesting, I think. Thomas Partey, are we going
to rate?
Are we going to agree on Thomas Partey? What is your rating for him?
Yeah, I mean, I can be quite critical on him, but I would still say 7.
Yeah, I'm going with 7.
It took time to get going, but actually in the big games, he's been very good.
I think he's had a very good end to this part of the season. I think the last few games, I thought he was really good at City. I thought he was excellent against PSG. I thought he was really good at right back at the weekend as well. I thought he played that role well. I think he's had a really great, really positive end to this little period of games, and I'm delighted that he's got a bit under the weather and hasn't gone to Ghana. Sorry, Ghana fans. Sorry to the Ghanaians watching this who wanted to see him play for them over this international break. But from a very selfish Arsenal point of view, I'm delighted that Thomas Partey is resting up at London Colney for the next couple of weeks ahead of the next period of games.
Yes. Yep. I think that's... He's a player that there's clearly a very fine line to strike between overusing him and keeping him in rhythm. And I think right now, frankly, for Ghana's good as well, like long term, I don't know what games he's missing, although I will confess that. But when the big games come around, they'll want Thomas Partey that's not been overworked and is in rhythm. And I think right now Arsenal are just about hitting that right. Been using him maybe a bit too much, but we sort of suspect
he started every game this season, apart from the Carabao Cup. He started every game this season, including the previous 2 for Ghana as well in the first international break. And I asked Mikel about him last week at Colney about that, the fact he started every game, and he said that he came back in the summer the best shape he's ever been in. He said he's just about now getting to his best again. He was very, he spoke very warmly about Thomas. But I mean, that is quite impressive. He started all of the last 5 games of last season, and now he started every single game apart from the Carabao Cup so far this season for club and country. So it's a lot of minutes. It's a lot of football for Thomas, and his body, touch wood, is holding up to it at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. But again, I'd be pushing towards a 7.5 if we're doing half ratings as well, because I just think he's finished this period very, very strongly. Odegaard, can we rate Odegaard? I don't really.
It was a bit. Know.
He played a bit before the injury, didn't he? But
and he was slightly disappointing. But you're still talking like what, 3 games?
Yeah,
5.
He was okay. He was fine. He was just beginning. I suppose you're just sort of trying to play yourself into form at that sort of point of the season, aren't you? And get some rhythm going. So I think it's very hard to mark him on.
Ditch the beard, Martin. It might just be the beard.
Sam Dean loves the beard. We were having a discussion in the press room
for a beard
pre-match on Saturday, and he said he didn't like it at first, but then he saw him in the GQ shoot, and he said he really liked it after that.
So, I mean, I have to say, Martin is phenomenally stylish.
Yeah, smouldering. I think Dino used when describing Odegaard in that GQ shoot.
That's a matter for Sam and his wife, I think.
Yeah. So Odegaard, I'm not sure I'm going to give Odegaard a mark. I'm not going to give Jorginho a mark. He's just not played enough. Mourinho, I'm not going to give a mark either. Kai Havertz,
big 10s.
You giving him the 10?
Love him.
Yeah,
phenomenal. You have to factor in where he was a year ago. I don't care if I haven't done that for anyone else, because we've seen a guy go from, oh my God, I don't know if Arsenal can play with him, and this might be a transfer that does like big damage to Arsenal. Like they're going to have to fix their left 8 and their striker position, to like, wow, Arsenal have a dream centre forward every team would love to have. I'm not saying he would start for every team. I'm saying everyone would adore having this version of Kai Havertz, the one they've got right now at Arsenal, who works so hard off the ball, gives everything for his team, scores goals, physical, strong, creative, intelligent. And as we saw against Leicester, now he's finishing. Now he's finishing like we thought he might be able to with all that technique. Arsenal, to me, Arsenal's player of the season so far.
I loved that goal against Southampton at the weekend. It was a proper. I think I described it as like a sod it. We're losing. I'm taking control here. I'm doing this on my own. It was just like you said a year ago. Like we were saying when we were comparing the 7th game of last season after saying game, that was the Bournemouth game. That was when he got his little sympathy penalty from the players. And you sort of look at where he was there in exactly 12 months to where he is now, and the way he's contributing to the team, it's just unbelievable. And I love that goal. I think it was my favourite Kai Havertz goal so far, just because of the way, just responsibility basically assumed in that moment of like, right, I'm getting my team back in it here. And then there was not even any celebration basically. It was like, right, back to the centre circle. We're going on and winning this game. Yeah, proper leadership from him. So yeah, I'm not going to give him a 10. I'm going to give him a 9. Could do with him scoring away from home, which would be nice. But I've loved Havertz so far this season. So I'm giving him a 9. Declan Rice, I'm going to give Declan a 7. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of Declan Rice yet so far this season. I think he's still recovering from the summer. I think he's still playing himself into form, into rhythm. I think there's been some decent signs, but you know, like every game you came away from last season was just like, oh my God, how good is Declan Rice? Imagine if Man City had signed him. I haven't sort of come away from the games yet this season thinking that. And maybe that's just because I'm so used to Declan Rice and how good he is. But I feel like there's still a lot more to come from Declan so far this season. So I'm giving him a 7.
Everything you said, but I'd give him a 6. Maybe the 7 just off the back of the PSG game. And I thought he was good against Leicester as well. But I mean, it's sort of one of those, 6, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It would be great if he could have an international break off, but you understand why any manager would want him around. It's lots of good performances, so maybe 6 or 7. Yeah.
Bukayo Saka.
Go on, you go first on this one.
9. I'm putting him level with my other 2 9s. Just phenomenal. 7 assists, 2 more than anyone else in Europe's top 5 leagues so far this season. 3 goals now as well, and just your go-to guy, isn't he? He's just so precise in everything that he does. Brilliant assist for Martinelli. I love that assist. But even his assist for Havertz, there was no, he just did it so quickly, and it was just so perfect into his path there when he won possession back, and then it was just release that ball. He didn't take an extra couple of touches, and so I love both the assists, and the goal was great as well. And I just think he's just been delivering on point. I think there's still a lot more to come from him in terms of goals so far this season. I think he'd probably be disappointed he's only got 3, but he's up there with me as one of Arsenal's best players this season. I'm giving him a 9.
Remember that the Ozil season, or the Ozil 2/3 of a season before the chances. It wasn't his fault. Before anyone comes at me, it was some of his forwards could have taken more chances. But just like every game, there's something he does for a teammate that is demanding that they score. I feel like that's where Saka is right now, and the 7 assists, it looks like that'll hold ends. You do have to sort of look at that record. That Premier League record's 20. It's pretty good progress to that so far. It's a tough one to hold assists because you're really reliant on the guys at the other end as well. But I think he might do it. Yeah, I think he'll get over 20.
Don't say that, because when you predict things, they end up so.
No, he won't. He won't. No more assists all season long.
Your record of predicting thing and putting it back on. We're not doing that. Okay, Jesus 5 for me. Definitely needs to do better. It's a difficult situation, isn't it? Because he kind of needs minutes to play himself into form, but at the moment when he's getting minutes, he's not really producing. So come back from that injury, not really hit the ground running. 5 for me. Definitely must do better.
Agreed. I thought he got a bit of a harsh write-up after the Leicester game, but more like people describing a 6 out of 10 performance as a 3 or a 4 out of 10 performance. The hope would be that a couple of goals just go in, and he feels like he feels like someone that's playing for the goals because he thinks that's what he needs to do to win back Arteta's faith. And I do understand that. When you're trying to win back that starting spot and Kai Havertz is scoring every time he takes to the Emirates field, you're going to feel like you need to get in on the act. And I'm not sure he really does. That's not what his game has ever just been about. But obviously from a confidence perspective, he just needs to score 1, 2, 3, and then maybe it will change. But I do also worry that all those knee injuries just mean he's a shadow of what he was. We'll see. We need more time to see on that, but just let it come to you, Gabby. Stop forcing it.
I mean, the next player we're going to talk about is a kind of example of how things can turn around pretty quickly in Gabriel Martinelli. Not so long. If we'd have done these not so long ago, it would have been we'd basically been saying exactly what we've just said about Gabriel Jesus. But all it takes is a moment. I suppose the difference is Martinelli still had pretty much everything in his game aside from the end product in that run he had, but he was still playing relatively well. He was still, working really, really hard, and you kind of felt like there was something was going to happen, and that something has happened now. He's got a couple of goals back to back in the Premier League, a few assists as well, and just immediately when he came on the pitch at the weekend, albeit the fact he came on with Trossard and Marino at the same time, it was like the Alamo coming on. He felt sorry for Southampton at that point. But the improvement in the front line when Trossard and Martinelli came on, just how sharp they were, how fast they were moving the ball, the speed of thought, everything about it just looked completely different. Would I give Martinelli a 7? I'd give him a 7. I think, yeah, he's probably pushed himself up to a 7 in recent performances. I would say I think 6 feels a little bit harsh now, if I was to give him that.
I'm more on the 7-8 cusp. I was a bit more positive about him when the ball wasn't going in. I think probably still a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because I've got to make room for got to differentiate him with Leo, and maybe
What would you
Leo's
give Leo?
more
What would you
8.
give Leo then?
8, and even
Yeah,
then,
I think
that's
I'd
8 to 9, isn't it?
yeah, I'd have him on 8. I think he shades Martinelli obviously, but I'm not sure I'd go as far as a 9. But I think he's had a good start to the season.
He's not far off a 9, is he? I think it's maybe you've got to kind of. We all agree that the rules were imperfect, but when you do get a red card against Man City, you always kind of got to, things like that matter because it wasn't necessarily the smartest thing to do given what you knew. But when he's good, oof, and him and Havertz, yeah, I mean he's 8/9, but maybe falling down to an 8 by the barest of margins.
Oh, I just hearing that phrase just makes me think back to England winning the World Cup.
Yeah,
Lords
I was thinking that even as I was
against New
saying
Zealand.
Man. Did you see any Joe Root this morning?
Yes, that
That's a
was
10 out of 10.
very enjoyable. What terrible pitch that is, though. And the next 2 tests are going to be played at that ground as well. I saw Kevin Peterson, going totally off track here, saying that both those next 2 tests should be played on the same pitch. So the wear and tear makes it better rather than moving it to the next track. And I agree 100%. I think it'll be much better
I like that idea.
if they were to do that. Can we give Raheem Sterling a mark?
Maybe 6. I've liked what I've seen, but there's not been a lot of it.
I didn't think he was terrible at the weekend.
No.
I thought he was better than Jesus. I didn't think he was great. And again, as soon as Martinelli came on, I just think you saw a much better looking Arsenal side. But I'm not sure I can really give Sterling a mark yet. I don't think I've seen enough of him. I'm sure just one Carabao Cup start and one Premier League start is quite enough for me to mark him. Yeah, I might reserve my judgment on him.
You wouldn't get away with that at Football.London, tell you that.
No, absolutely not. So your player of the season so far has been Kai Havertz. I would agree. I think I would give him my player of the season so far, with Bukayo and David Raya absolutely banging the door down next to him as well. But so yeah,
I hope we don't have David Raya quite so high in a few weeks' time.
Yes, I would agree. I would absolutely hope that is the case as well. But if you need your goalkeeper and you need to call upon him, you need him in good form. Unfortunately for Arsenal here. So those are our season player ratings so far. Right, should we move on to some questions? Before we wrap this one up, let's go with Sam first of all. It says, hey, Charles and James, post-Rodri injury, Arsenal are now bookies' favourites to win the title.
Sam.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Arsenal are favourites to win the title.
They became favourites just after the away game. I don't know if the bookies then were sort of working off the assumption that Rodri had a big long injury, but yeah, they became.
Wow, I hadn't even looked at that. So, what are your latest top 4 predictions? Now it's looking unlikely to be Crystal Palace.
Thanks, Sam.
Side point: Rudiger said that the best 3 centre backs in the world are Van Dijk, Gabriel, and Saliba. If we can keep those 2 from the lures of Real Madrid, they'll retire as Arsenal legends. I'm convinced of it. Again, as we said earlier on the show, I've got a feeling we probably won't be able to do that for the entirety of their career, but hopefully we'll be able to resist the lure for a fair while yet. What is your latest top 4 predictions? I would say definitely. Well, we know the top 3. In my
Put them
mind,
in order.
Arsenal, City,
agreed.
Liverpool. I think Liverpool firepower will get them 3rd. And I think they've got a strong enough defence with Konate and Van Dijk there to keep them 3rd.
3rd?
Yeah.
I think 3rd for them as well.
I'm trying to think who's going to finish 4th, who I think will finish 4th. I quite like what I'm seeing from Chelsea. I think Chelsea are an interesting team, and they should be for the money they've spent. They've got so much attacking talent in that squad. Worry about the goalkeeper, although he had a good game.
Yeah.
He had a good game against Forest. Made some good saves against Forest because they could easily lost that. No, I'm going to stick. I think Villa. I think it might be the same top 4. I might be the same 4 as last season. I mean, Champions League might hamper Villa, but yeah, I'm going to go Villa. I'm going the same top 4.
I would take Chelsea over Villa. Side note, I also think now that we haven't got like Man United and Newcastle stinking out the place, England will probably get 5 Champions League spots. It kind of ends up being sort of balanced towards Germany and Italy the more teams you get. But I think we'll get that 5th Champions League spot. Hooray! Like you say, I really like Chelsea. Just briefly, can we all stop comparing Cole Palmer and Bukayo Saka? They just play in completely different positions. Let's have a talk about Palmer and Bellingham, for England, and maybe Foden, because Foden shouldn't be playing on the left wing for England if Saka's playing on the right. But Cole Palmer's not a right winger anymore, guys. It's phenomenal though. He and Saka are the 2 best. And now I'm comparing them, the 2 best attacking midfielders, wingers, whatever you want to call them in the Premier League.
Yeah, I hate that debate. The whole Foden. As soon as anyone does anything right, good, it's just everyone on social media comparing them, going, "Oh, this guy fell off," blah blah blah. It just does my head. So yeah, you what you going? You going Chelsea 4th?
Chelsea 4th, Liverpool 3rd, but only because I feel like I'm not seeing them against a good team.
Neither of us going Spurs.
And just not doing well. Just weak.
Danny Welbeck scoring the winner as they throw away a 2-goal lead. It was just glorious. It was a really good Sunday, that, because you had United and Villa draw, Chelsea drew at home to Forest, and Spurs threw away a 2-0 lead to lose 3-2 at Brighton. It was just a really lovely Sunday after Arsenal had won 24 hours earlier.
They're just. I have to say, as opposed to you, I know you're on the Arsenal beat. I do cover these teams more broadly, so I try. I find it a bit. I'm saying this as CBS Sports Premier League correspondent. I'm being neutral. They're a champagne team. They're a sunshine team, Tottenham. They will look great until it matters, and I think Ange Postecoglou understands that, and it baffles him, and he's trying to address it. But when you've done so well to get 2-0 up against a really good team, a team that's kind of being found out, but when you've done so well to fritter it away, it's unforgivable, and it keeps happening with these Tottenham players. And I do sympathise sometimes with Ange, because I think this is such a difficult job to fix whatever's wrong in the collective mentality of that club, because I think it's a mental thing, and I think Arteta had to work so hard on it at Arsenal, and it's going to be even harder for Postecoglou.
Yeah, I agree. The look of him standing there, hands in his pockets, looking at the away fans in the rain, just that look on his face of just thinking, Tottenham, what is this football club? It just made me laugh. It just did make me laugh. But I agree. I think they're great, Spurs, when it comes to going forward and playing decent attacking football. That's fine, but there's so much more to being a good side in the Premier League than that, and it just looks like they can just let themselves down just like a click of the fingers. They've just got that soft underbelly, haven't they? And it's just not gone away yet. And I can't see them making the top 4, maybe 5th. I can't see them challenging for the top 4 spots. Though, just think there's better teams in the Premier League than them. Right, here's one from MHE87 says, I'm concerned about the Gabriel Jesus situation. It's catch-22 where he needs lots of minutes to get back to his best, but we can't afford to give a lot of minutes to him if he's not at his best. I think we have enough depth at every position to really make a go for all 4 trophies. I think we're another quality striker to rotate with Havertz away from a potentially magical season. What do you both think about sending Jesus on loan in January, maybe France or Spain, and triggering Osimhen's release clause? I mean, that'd be a ruthless move. I can't see it. I can't see it at all. I'd be sort of moving away from that question a little bit. Well, it's not, I suppose. I don't think at this stage, I'd be surprised if Arsenal sign another striker, a top striker in January. I think it's definitely something in the summer. I just don't see it happening, whether it be Osimhen and that release clause that he's got, obviously, in the Galatasaray loan deal that he struck with Napoli. But I can't see it. I think Jesus sees out the season here, then potentially goes in the summer, and Arsenal make a move for another striker then.
I think one thing Arsenal have been really and I know you've heard the same thing, or I think you have, is that they're not going to do things in January, long-term things in January, that preclude them from doing long-term things in the future. So I presume if you're talking about that Osimhen release clause, you mean paying, I don't remember what the number is now, but paying and signing
60, 70
him.
or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was something like that.
A lot of money.
Off the top of my head, it's still a lot of money, yeah.
I mean, I think almost part of the Jesus thing, I think if you felt like it, you were on the cusp of something special, like the question talks about, and you could loan Osimhen, even at great expense, even if you say to Galatasaray and to Napoli, we'll pay you big money because we think he'll get us across the line in the title race. That's different. Like, talk to me about that, or talk to me about paying over the odds for Sesko, let's say, if that's who you want in the summer. But like, no, you don't. I'd be scared about kind of 4 years of big money for Osimhen and him having to, and then you come out of that. What I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I thought I'd spend big on like a temporary option to get you across the line, but probably, unless you're absolutely convinced that Osimhen's the guy, which sort of looks like you're not.
They're clearly not.
Don't go wild.
They're clearly not convinced that he's a guy. So no, I agree. It just doesn't feel like one that they would look at. For me, Paul says, congratulations on the silver, Charles. Thank you very much. If everyone's fit, but thank you very much, James. If everyone, you should see how excited my kids were. I did the same trick to them when I got home from school because they've been waiting for it for ages. Like, why haven't you got your silver play button yet? Because I passed 100k a fair while ago, I think, and they're like, why hasn't it arrived yet? Why hasn't it arrived? It's like, I don't know. They arrived yesterday, and I did the same thing. I said, do you want a chocolate? And I gave them the box. And then they opened it, thinking it was chocolate, and then it was a silver play button. Honestly, it was like I'd just given them a PlayStation 5.
I was going to say, I imagine for children nowadays, like being a journalist, it means nothing to kids. Being a YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers is like, now we're talking. It's like
mad.
a playground. It's like my dad's Mr. Beast, basically.
It's weird. Like the kids' aspirations is to become a YouTuber now. It's like, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to be a YouTuber. You hear them in the playground. It's like, what are you going to be? I'm going to be a YouTuber. It's like, it's bad. But I still don't see myself as a YouTuber. So even just saying that word just sounds weird. Although it's clearly a very important part of my business. But yeah, I look at Mr. Beast, people like that. They're YouTubers.
yeah.
Not me. But thank you, Paul, for the kind words on the silver. He said, if everyone's fit, who starts versus Liverpool? Marino, Partey, Timber, White. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I would say Timber starts at right back if everyone's fit.
Really?
I would say so. You go for White, would you?
Yeah, I'd play Timber at left back. Get him in.
You'd play Timber at left back?
Yeah.
No, I'd have Calafiori.
Yes. No, I would.
Because I feel right more.
Mohamed Salah.
Yeah.
So I quite like someone that's sort of a bit two-footed to defend.
Bring in Tomiyasu out of the blue and play him at left back like he did last time, and absolutely stop Salah in his track. I cannot believe I just said who's Liverpool's right winger. Yeah. I mean, that is an option. Actually, that wouldn't surprise me if he does that. If he plays White at right back and Timber at left back, just so he can do what Tomiyasu did against Salah last time. Clearly, it's a tactic that's worked well before. So, but I think I'd probably go Timber and I'd have Calafiori. I just want Calafiori in the team, I have to say. Marino or Partey, that's an interesting one. I'd still be playing Partey, I think. Marino's going to be away in international break. He's going to play a couple of games. He's not going to be at Colney for a week, sort of gearing up tactically.
But this is Liverpool. It's the back end of the.
Of course, it is. Yeah. It's not Bournemouth.
The window.
Yeah.
That's why I think by then
it's hard to answer now. Then I suppose it isn't it? Yeah.
I suppose projecting forward, I think Marino's qualities may be more valuable. Just a bit more muscularity. Someone that can really put the pressure on Van Dijk and can maybe someone you could sort of deploy on Trent. Maybe.
I suppose it depends on how he's played in the Bournemouth and the Shakhtar games. If he's looked on it and looked sharp and looked like he's beginning to settle in, then yeah. But I haven't seen enough in the two substitutes appearances yet to suggest start him against Liverpool. But there's still plenty of football to be played. I'd still, right now, if you're asking me, I'd still be probably shading towards Partey in that game, and Timber over White, I would say. There's one from Nahid who said, hi, Charles and James. Do you think Martinelli will finally find the form we saw in 2022-23 now that he scored in back-to-back Premier League games? I don't know, but I hope so.
How many goals was that?
How many goals? I think he got like 13, 14.
A lot, like a lot for a left winger, and he is a touchline hugging left winger. I think that will be a really good season for Martinelli, and there will be quite a lot of sort of seasons at that level. But I think maybe it's just not like we always say, development's not a linear thing. He'll sort of bounce up and down, and I think kind of long term he'll probably be he'll have seasons that are better than that. But I think for now he's had a bit of a dip, and he's got to get back to that player. So I think
15 he got in all comps that season.
It felt like more. They're all in the 15, all in the Premier League. I think 15 in all comps is comfortably within his reach. Maybe 15 in the league. Well, I mean, I think good double figures, like 11, 12, 13. I feel like that this season is a starting point, and then a couple of years down the line, we might go. Remember when he was only getting 15?
Yeah. Things with Martinelli, I mean, obviously that season was such a sort of chaos season, wasn't it? And he was perfect at that point for it. I'm not sure we'll see him like that. I think we're just seeing a much more rounded player now in Martinelli than we saw in that season. Same with all the Arsenal players. So I think it's just very different. That was such an exhilarating season, wasn't it? It was just, the football was fun. It was kind of like the whole Klopp heavy metal period with Liverpool when he came in, and it was just a really fun season. And I think Martinelli was great. I think we're just seeing a better player now with Martinelli. He might not score as many goals, but I think you're going to see a vastly improved player. So I don't know about goal scoring if you get 15. I'm not sure he'll play enough games to get 15 Premier. He was always starting that season. I don't think he's going to have to share the minutes this season, isn't he? He's got Sterling there now. We've got Trossard as well, who'll be playing there once Martin Odegaard comes back in. So I don't know if he'll get to 15, but I think he's still going to have I'm still predicting a very strong season for Gabriel Martinelli.
Just let me have a look at this. I don't think he got many assists that season either, did he? Sort of already on 2 and 2, which isn't bad. If you go back to 22, 23, 5 assists. So maybe what you get is a player that provides more, especially getting to the byline, cutting it back, and Marino, Havertz, guys like that are weighing in with the goals. Like you said, that chaos season where kind of for almost half the season, it was a lot of pressure on Eddie and Nketiah, which meant a lot of pressure on Saka and Martinelli to be the scorers as well. I don't think Arsenal are going to find themselves in that position again.
Yeah, but it's definitely positive signs, I think, with Gabby. I was delighted to see him score a couple of goals. What does the next evolution of Arsenal look like? Asks issue 5112, not just as a team, but as a club. Now, you mentioned earlier on in this show that you sat down with Bukayo Saka last week, and the first part of that interview has now gone out on CBS Sports. And you can find that over on James's social media. I will give it a retweet after this. You can find it down in the link below as well. I'll put the link to it in. There's an interesting bit in it, sort of in response to this question. Where is it? I'm going to have to try and find it now. And I'm not going to be able to. So, yeah, but he says, oh, I can't find it, James.
No, I can read it to you. Oh, God.
Here we go. He says, I can see my club evolving, not just on the pitch, but off it as well. So he thinks it's going to continue to evolve. So what is the next evolution? I suppose the next evolution of this Arsenal is just winning, isn't it? It's getting their hands on silverware and becoming a winning team, not an up-and-coming challengers team. It's to be the best. And then, once you do that, it's about maintaining that. I mean, that has to be the next evolution of this Arsenal, isn't it? Because it'd be a crying shame if this crop, this group, this period ends with no success, and then the team just sort of, gets dismantled and rebuilt. So that has to be the next evolution of Arsenal, is getting themselves over the line, winning trophies, and then doing it again and again and again.
And that's certainly the team side of it. I wonder, as a club, I mean, look, the context of this question, when I asked it to Saka at least, and I don't know if this is issues context as well, but is maybe that this is I suppose a club that is, without wishing to describe it in cynical terms, a bit of a lifestyle brand, if you know what I mean. And like, this interview was off the back of Arsenal launching a fashion capsule, and it's just like, it's not even like the Labrum one where it's doing the away kit, doing warm-up stuff. This is just like clothes for you to buy, for want of a better word. And I know it's been a huge success for Arsenal. And I do think the reality is, like, in a time where like so much of culture becomes itemized and siloized, and we all listen to different music, different films, maybe the big football clubs are the things that end up uniting us. And I think you will really see Arsenal as this almost, I mean, like Saka says as well, like a sort of focal point for like London creativity. And I know that for a lot of fans, and even for people your generation and my generation, you feel a bit uncomfortable about that. But someone's got to pay for Arsenal to have the best footballers in the world, and the people that own the club want this to be a profitable endeavour. And probably you would say the most valuable thing that Arsenal have in the long term is the name, the location in London, and I think to an extent the history, the style that Wenger imbued, and a bit of that, and all that sort of sense of a bit of a cosmopolitan air to them. That's a great brand, and whether you like it or not, I do think we're going to see more and more of Arsenal as a sort of product. I know that's yucky.
No, it's not yucky. It's football. It's modern. It's modern football, isn't it? Yeah, it is absolutely. Where the Premier League is going to be in 10 years' time, who knows? It might be splitting. It might be gone, given what's going on at the moment. So quite hard to see where they're going to be as a team, as a club at the moment. They might be playing in a new form Super League, which who knows? It's so hard to predict. But so much going on at the Premier League. Well, it'd be interesting to see what Arsenal Stadium looks like in 10 years.
Does it become a sort of? I mean, it's not cheap now. Does it become a luxury venue almost?
They must be looking around the Cronkies. Given what they've done in the States, they must be looking around the Cronkies at the moment, looking at Spurs, looking at if Chelsea ever managed to get a move away from Stamford Bridge or redevelop Stamford Bridge, looking at what United are going to do in the very near future, you would think. Looking at
what City have done, with the big music venue right outside.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't do that at the Emirates, but
no,
it's a way of making money out of that place.
What Newcastle are going to be doing fairly soon, you would suggest, for St James's Park as well. They must be looking at that and thinking, can we manage to get round what agreements were in place when the Emirates was first built? Can we do something with this stadium? And there's been whisperings, hasn't there, that they have employed people to look at if there is something they can do. So we'll see if anything comes from that. But it will be very interesting because the Emirates is going to look very outdated very, very quickly, I would say. And certainly if you wind the clock forward 10 years, you would imagine that the Emirates is going to be where it was the sort of market leader not so long ago, is going to be lagging behind pretty spectacularly in terms of money coming into the club and just what it looks like visually as well, I'd say.
100%. At least you have the space, though. And at least you have the 60,000.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, what will happen to the makeup of that 60,000 when you have to balance Arteta's demand for raucous atmospheres, and the atmosphere is the best it's ever been at the Emirates by a country mile. When you have to balance that with, this is a brilliant way to make a lot of money that will pay for really good footballers. I don't know how you land that. Luckily, I'm not paid to know the answer, but I know that's a question that Arsenal are going to have to address with their fan base. And it is what it is. It's the way of the world. And I know some people sort of would turn even a match report into a complaint about that. But if you want the best, the very best in the Premier League, and the very best of the very best at Arsenal, someone's got to find the money to pay for it.
Then lastly, we got one from Charlie J. Says, afternoon, Charles and Benge James.
That's
a new one. It's a new one. Benge James, fitness permitting. Yeah, no, you're fit. You're not COVID's in the past.
Yeah, I'm clear. All clear.
Does Saka get to 30 goal involvements in the league this season? I say yes. He's already at 9. We'll need to score around 90 goals in the league. So it seems vital that our best attacking player is directly involved in a third of our goals. What special talent he is. We're so blessed to have someone who represents our club so well off the pitch. Right. James isn't allowed to answer this question because he will curse it, the Jonah that he is.
Can I just tell you, though, as a fact, he got 25 last season, 25 the season before.
Yeah. And he's on 9 already, 7 assists. You've already mentioned the assist record that he carries on at this rate, and he's definitely got a good chance of it. Does he get 30 goal involvements? Yes, 100%. If he doesn't get injured, I think he absolutely gets 30 goal involvements in the league this season, Charlie. But I'm not letting James answer that question. Because
can I give you another stat though?
What?
0.32 expected goals, 0.5 expected assists per 90. So that's almost exactly like what the underlying was last season. And I think you can kind of, with Arsenal, because there's been so many red cards and moments he's been substituted off in hard games, I think from those underlying metrics, you can say they'll probably tick up a little bit over the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, I'm not going to. I will not do a prediction on that. But I will give you some facts to inform your prediction, Charles.
You're the facts man. The facts man. Lovely. And that's about it. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Appreciate that always. Hope we've answered them as well as we possibly can. We've gone longer this week, mate. We've gone over first time we've gone over the hour mark for a long, long time.
Our viewers will not appreciate that.
Well, hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. Look, it's an international break. There's no Premier League to talk about, so got to fill their entertainments in other ways, and hopefully we have done that. Thank you everyone for watching and for listening. Of course, I'll be back in the morning to do my usual show all over again. Like I said, you can read James Benge's interview with Bukayo Saka. Find it down in the description below, or you can find it on his social media, and I've retweeted. Well, I will retweet it as well, so you can find it on mine as well. So please do give that a read. And there is a second part to come, so we're all going to be waiting eagerly for that one to drop as well. Cheers, mate. Have a very good end to your week.
Thank you very much, and you too. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Next week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, I imagine, but we'll sort that out sooner. We'll sort that out later after the weekend as well. All right, mate. Speak to you soon. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.